Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. As we go to air, parts of Tasmania are facing wild storms. Strong winds left thousands of Tasmanians without power this morning after severe weather lashed the state. The SES is urging residents to brace themselves for more tonight as emergency services ramp up their rescue response.
Destructive winds causing havoc across Tasmania, prompting widespread power outages this morning.
We had about 6,000 to 7,000 customers affected, and that was right across the state as it came through.
The SES responded to 10 call-outs for help, mainly centred around Ulverston, Devonport and Penguin. And in the south this morning, Strahan Airport recorded record wind gusts of over 140 kilometres an hour.
Things like skylights, taken off roofs, and trees down, one across the home, one across the garage.
Today proved to be the calm before the storm, with another spout of wild wind this afternoon to continue overnight.
We could actually see some locally destructive gusts across parts of the west and far south of the state. So that's gusts in excess of 125 kilometres per hour.
Police urging drivers to make smart decisions on wet and windy roads.
Drive to the weather conditions. If you don't need to go out late this evening or later on this afternoon, this evening, please don't.
In low-lying areas, low-lying coastal areas with those westerlies in the southeast, we will see a higher potential for inundation onto roads. Lauderdale, an impact on the causeways.
The latest can be found on the BOM and SES websites.
And Ruby Cairns joins us now from the Hobart waterfront. Ruby, how's it looking where you are and what's in store for the remainder of the night?
Kim, damaging winds will be felt across much of the state tonight. We're certainly feeling the chill down here. The Weather Bureau is predicting the worst of the weather to be over by about 8 o'clock tonight. High tides are another concern. Emergency services were searching the Primrose area earlier for a missing kayaker who's since been found. The next few days will be chilly, but it is expected to be calmer by the end of the week. Kim.
Okay, thank you, Ruby. And we'll have more on those current warnings and the forecast later in our weather segment. Well, to other news now, and a former Launceston accountant has faced the Supreme Court, pleading guilty to 113 fraud-related charges. James Redmond Burrows, now living in Victoria, is accused of stealing more than $1.4 million over a period of 4 years and 3 months. The court heard he stole money off his clients and lodged false claims to the ATO to help fund his gambling addiction and pay off other debts. Police have confirmed human remains located at a Nabola property last week are those of missing teenager Cheyenne Lee Tatnall. The results were confirmed through DNA testing. The 36-year-old man has been charged with her murder. Tasmanians could hold the key to solving dozens of mysteries, according to police, as National Missing Persons Week begins. It comes as our emergency services are commended for their search efforts in recent high-profile cases.
They're the faces of the long-term lost. Tasmanians who vanished without a trace, still on the minds of loved ones and police.
It's a terrible experience. They are grieving, they don't have answers, and that's why we are so committed.
Belgian tourist Celine Cremer, an unwelcome addition to the list of the missing. A last-ditch search effort over the weekend coming up empty-handed after the 31-year-old vanished near Philosopher's Falls last month.
When we don't have a successful outcome, we sort of grieve with those families. We feel for them, and it's frustrating because we can't give them what they need.
Her family and friends joining the ranks of loved ones looking for answers.
One of her very close friends travelled from Belgium on the weekend, and we've run them through in very, very significant detail what we've done.
With a staggering 176 long-term missing persons cases on its books, Tasmania Police is calling for people to come forward with any information they may have, no matter how small the kernel.
They could know the entire story, or they may know just a small piece of the puzzle. Our philosophy and our approach is, if you think it's a value, it's definitely a value.
Investigators saying they're committed to doing everything they can to bring closure to those left behind.
By reporting any information that you think you might have about someone's disappearance, you can help potentially solve the case.
Hoping to give much needed answers to families left with so many questions. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
The Greens' Vicar Bailey is in the lead to fill the vacant seat of clerk following Cassie O'Connor's resignation earlier this month. He's one of 10 candidates involved in the recount after failing to secure a seat during the 2021 state election. The Tasmanian Electoral Commission still working to sift through more than 10,000 ballot papers. At this stage, no one has received majority of the vote, with up to 8 exclusions likely to occur. A 2-car crash has caused traffic delays in Hobart this afternoon. Police, along with ambulance and multiple fire crews, were called to the incident on Campbell and Burnett Streets around 3:30. No serious injuries were reported. The lead singer of Tasmanian band Luca Brasi has had his life turned upside down after his 1-year-old son received a shock cancer diagnosis. Tyler Richardson's bandmate has spoken on his behalf, with the family busy preparing to move interstate for treatment.
He's a high school teacher, Lifeline ambassador and the lead singer of rock band Luca Brasi. But most importantly, Tyler Richardson is a father. His 1-year-old son Harris suddenly fighting for life.
They found out a few weeks ago that Harris has a tumour on his kidney, which is cancerous. I believe it's on a particular gland.
Tyler and his wife Alex have been left with no other choice but to pack up their lives and move to Melbourne tomorrow, where their little boy will spend 6 to 12 months undergoing treatment.
They're pretty heartbroken, as we all are. But always really reluctant to take help. Tyler Richardson is. He's always the first guy to help everyone else.
The state wrapping its arms around the family with more than $116,000 donated to a GoFundMe page set up by band member Patrick Marshall to cover their mortgage.
Even though getting a diagnosis for your child is awful, you actually want to get the best treatment for them, and if the team is not available in Tasmania, then you go to where those treatment options are available.
Members of the public can still chip in online. Other families battling similar hardship can also seek financial support through Cancer Council. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
First in sport tonight, they pulled off an Australian first, winning the Super Bowl of sailing, the SB20 World Titles. Now the Tasmanian crew is back home with one of the more expensive trophies in world sport, which they're eager to keep their hands on. Valued at $35,000, one thing is crystal clear. SB20 success is something this Tasmanian crew is extremely proud of.
Our preparation was definitely key. We spent 2 weeks over there getting used to the conditions, setting up the boat.
Conditions like this.
2, 1, driving.
A spin cycle of nautical and emotional pressure in the Netherlands for Team Ares.
I was ecstatic. A few World Championships I've got silver medals, bronze medals, but I've never actually won one.
In fact, no Australian crew has ever won the SB20 world title. The predominantly Tasmanian team beat 50 rivals to write their names in the history books.
The strongest fleet in Australia is definitely here in Tasmania, and it's one of the most competitive one-design fleets in the world.
The British-designed keelboat has a long history in sailing, but its profile remains somewhat below the watermark. That's why sailors hope the world titles return to Tasmania for an injection of interest.
It is really high-level skilled sailing that wins it.
Something this team well and truly proved. North Hobart's 5-goal toppling of Lauderdale is being hailed the D's best showing this season. Jack Sandrick described the day as magic, not just for the win, but also as a fitting way to celebrate his 100th game for the club.
It was a special day for my family. I think my mum and dad and my sisters were probably more excited than I was, but yeah, it was pretty special and enabled me to sort of reflect on what's been a wonderful journey at North Hobart.
Sandrick debuted for North Hobart back in 2012, where he kicked the winning goal in a fiery clash against Hobart at the TCA ground. He's taken 11 years to reach the 100-game milestone, having spent some time in the VFL. Taking a look now at the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes after 16 rounds. Eddie Cole is king of the hill for Kingborough against Glenorchy. Ben Simpson extends his clearance at the top of the table after another best on ground. And North Hobart's Harry McLeod has polled as well after the win over Lauderdale. So it's Simpson out in front on 18, Sam Siggins is on 15, ahead of Lockie Clifford, Alex Lee and Jack Tompkinson. And a great result over in America for Tassie's Max Giuliani. He topped the podium 3 times at the US Pro Championships, first in the 100 and 200 metre freestyle races and then in the 800 metre freestyle relay. And he topped it off with a silver in the 400 metre relay. So a very productive time for him, Kim.
Okay, yes, good evening. Now let's see if I can remember how this goes, but I am lucky Kaya Wicks is standing right here to jump in if I lose my way. By the way, thanks Kaya for being way too good at presenting the weather. So apparently while I've been away we've had a fairly warm winter by comparison so far, but today was a bit of a doozy, wasn't it? Winds and rain right over the state. Hobart and Launceston scrambled to 12. Devonport had 13 and Burnie 14 degrees. State's top was 15 on King Island, Flinders Island and Wynyard 14 today, and most of the rest of the state there in the low teens. At 4 this morning, Matsika Island copped a wind blast of 178 kilometres an hour, and around the state over 7,000 homes lost power, so it's been pretty dangerous. Now all the cloud over our region is due to the deep low and fronts heading our way. You can see the cloud mostly over the west and south, and that is the main issue around the nation, with more cloud over the far north of Queensland and a little brewing over southeast WA. Tomorrow's chart shows the system moving away quite quickly, so a swift improvement in the weather is expected. A high settles over Victoria, but another menacing cold front looms well to the west. The wind's still a bit stiff tomorrow at 20 to 30 knots from the west-southwest and to 35 knots over southern waters with a 7-metre swell. Now the weather has worsened again over the last 2 hours, and there is a severe weather warning for destructive winds for most of the state and also for abnormally high tides in waters around the west and southeast. We have a gale warning tomorrow for most of the state as well, a strong wind warning for the far northwest coast and upper east coast. Also a warning to sheep graziers that continues for tonight, but conditions are likely to ease during tomorrow. And a little bit of a flood warning as well, but we'll keep that in mind for tomorrow. So rough conditions tonight, then just a shower or two in Hobart, a top of 13, 11 for Adventure Bay. Launceston mostly sunny and 14, 13 for Devonport. Bridport sunny and 13 degrees as the conditions ease. Partly cloudy for Burnie, 12, 12 also for Strawn. Possible shower, winds easing from Marrawar. St Helens sunny, 15, 13 the top for Swansea. Very windy still for Whitemark, but a sunny afternoon and 13. A possible shower for Burnie on Wednesday, a frost in Launceston and fine partly cloudy weather elsewhere. To Thursday, slightly warmer but a few showers back as the winds increase over the west. Partly cloudy in the east, Swansea looking at 18. And on Friday, rain in the west and showers spreading right across the state. Sunny in Perth. Cloudy and 16 for Adelaide and Melbourne. A cold start in Canberra tomorrow, 0 to start the day. Sunny and 21 in Sydney. Showers forecast along the Queensland coast, but a nice one in Darwin. Still showery in Hobart, 12 degrees. In Launceston, 13. Devonport, cloudy at the moment and 12 degrees. Well, now, you know, Kim, by the way, it's great to see you again. It's funny that my wife, Donna, was actually desperately looking forward to my retirement and spending more time with me. But now, after the past 2 months together, she's over the moon that I'm here back at work. I don't really understand wives sometimes.
Beth, I know where she's coming from.